Good afternoon to all of our viewers in our Facebook group, Authentic Intimacy for Married Women, and to our listeners who might be joining us from our YouTube channel. My name is Karen Seitz, and I am the lead teacher for the relationship course at A New Life Center. I've been teaching this work and applying it in my own life and in my marriage for almost 4 years now, and continue to see my life transform and the clients that I get the honor of teaching, consistently watching them transform their own lives. And today I have the honor to be here with Vivian Sylvestre, one of our graduates from the relationship course. And she's going to be sharing her experience of going through the program and how she found happiness within herself and how that completely transformed and changed her marriage. So welcome, Vivian. It's really nice to have you today.
Thanks. It's good to be here, Karen.
Good. So do you want to take a second and just introduce yourself, maybe how long you've been married and what you're looking forward to today and doing this interview?
Sure. So I've been married 5 years and I've been with my husband for 12. And you know, I love the group that you have. Like, I just really love everyone's input and the videos that you're doing and what you're sharing. And one thing I'm looking forward to and sharing is, you know, what I've learned for myself in my marriage, and then also how much freedom that has given me in my marriage, and not only just me, but my husband as well.
Thank you so much. Well, I know that you've already added so much in the group when you're sharing from your experience and commenting on the post. So I know that your sharing today is going to help so many women in our group to hear your experience. So we'll jump right in.
Sure.
So what were some of the challenges that you had in your marriage that really pushed you to do something different and come into the program that we offer?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Where do we begin?
I know. Well, you know, I want to answer it this way because I feel like I imagine there's so many women out there that if we really get honest as to why we got married, it's not because it was our soulmate or, you know, it's the perfect man for me and all this stuff that, you know, we tell ourselves, or I told myself. And I realized when I got really honest that I married my husband for security. And doesn't mean I don't love him, because I do, but that was what I was looking for out of the relationship, was security. And that in and of itself just created constant challenge, because if I'm looking for that security outside of myself, I'm never going to feel secure. So, you know, everything from finances to how did I look this day, or how should I be feeling today? Like all of that, I didn't feel solid in any of it. So it caused challenges, and tangibly, like those challenges showed up with, you know, me being jealous of silly things, or, you know, what didn't feel silly, but so jealousy, you know, wanting him to be a certain way. I wanted him, he studies medicine. I wanted him to be a doctor, you know, just like I was putting so much out there into our relationship that, you know, was based on this fact that I wanted to feel secure by him.
Yeah. And what made you willing to look at that, to get honest with yourself and look at that unconscious reason of why you got married, that it wasn't for the happily ever after, it wasn't because we were soulmates? Because it can seem really scary of like, oh, that would be really hard to see that's why you got married, right? What?
I thought I had to get divorced immediately. I was like, oh my God, I'm a sham, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't, but what I understood was it didn't mean I don't love him, because I do. It just meant that I had all this stuff like attached to that. And I think what inspired me to look at that was, I don't want my life to be a sham. You know, like that to me felt even harder and scarier to uphold and to just even swallow, is, you know, this is how I'm living my life, versus taking a look, at what's really there and why, and also the knowing that if I do that work and heal that, then I can actually really enjoy the love that is there.
Yeah. And not be like pretending to enjoy it or
Yes.
faking it.
Yes.
And
just making it all about security.
Exactly. And I can relate to that. And I didn't want to know that I was living a sham in my marriage or in my life at all, but there were always some telltale signs in me that just felt off, of like, I'm not really being who I say I am in my marriage or otherwise. And so what clued you into that? Were you aware that in yourself that you kind of felt like things were a sham or not completely authentic?
Well, yes, it took me a while to wake up to that, but hindsight's 2020,
Sure.
But I really know in moments when I wanted him to have a certain job or to do a certain thing, and I made his work about me.
Yeah.
That's when I really started to notice, like, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if I should be doing this. And as I went through the relationship course, it was really hard to see myself, it was easy to see myself, but it was hard to swallow that, and the more, I don't know, just the more I softened to my own journey, my own inner workings, the easier it became. The resistance would just fall away. And it just completely changed how I view myself and my husband and our relationship and how to relate.
Yeah. And so what else, before you came into the relationship course, were there other things that you tried? Did you know that things were off in your marriage before coming in? And were there other things that you tried beforehand?
There wasn't anything specific to like marriage counseling or anything like that, but I am a therapist by trade. And I have had my own therapy and of course brought up my marriage in that. Yeah. I would try to, bring that into traditional therapy. But that was all still, I don't know. It was all at this like kind of story level.
Yeah.
The best way I can say that. And I never really felt like I got to the heart of what was really going on. Nor did I feel like I was really taking responsibility.
Yeah.
It's almost like I went to therapy to tell my story, to have somebody validate what was happening for me versus, the hard pill. Like, you need to wake up, Vivian, and look at yourself and see what you're creating instead of trying to make it all fit out there.
Yeah. And what did you start to notice? Or let me backtrack a little bit. What do you think of when you think of being in your story? Like, what does that mean to you? And when you would try to work on these things and you're just in your story, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means I'm kind of running around.
Mm-hmm.
What's an easy way to say that? Instead of really slowing down and letting myself feel what's happening for me and being honest with myself, it's what I'm talking about. It's like, this is happening, that is happening, and I'm always keeping it out there versus just slowing down with myself and exploring well, why is that happening?
Yeah, because of me.
Yeah.
Instead of why is this happening because of what my husband's doing or not doing. What this really teaches you how to do that's a lot different than traditional therapy is to look within ourselves and see, okay, well, what's going on with me that's causing my experience to be this? And why, for you, Vivian, why is that so much more effective in working on yourself when you're able to just look at you? It kind of fits into one of our principles of the framework is the only person you can change is yourself.
It's myself. Yeah.
And so what was that like for you, or what's your experience of that?
There's a sense of empowerment. That's what I feel now. I mean, before even starting the relationship course and starting this work, it was really, there were days I was like, I just can't do this. Like, it just feels uphill. I was one of those people that wanted change, but I didn't want to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, as I started letting myself do that, it's almost palpable now. It's like an experiential sense of who I truly am. And I feel so much more comfortable in my skin. And because I know the more I look at myself and the more I work on myself, my outer world will change. My relationship with my husband will change. That's empowering. Like, that's true empowerment to me.
Yeah. And it gets so exhausting constantly focusing on what our husbands are doing or what's going on out there and focusing on our stories. It can feel like then there's so much pressure of like, this has got to get fixed now and they need to change now, where I don't know if you've experienced this, but for me, there's almost a slowing down and there's not so much pressure or, we interviewed a client last week. She says it was like everything felt like it was an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And did you experience that too? When you stopped looking at the story and started just focusing on changing yourself, did that kind of pressure or everything has to change now start to fade?
It did. And I will say, like, for myself, it's, my marriage is something I commit to every day, because every day I wake up and commit to myself. So It's not like I did this course and, we're skipping through the flower fields every day. It's, now I have the tools to handle challenges within myself when they come up, and then things in my marriage. I just want to share this because as you brought this up, this is what sparked me is, my husband just went through a challenging time.
Yeah.
And knowing what I know and knowing that it starts with me, I immediately defaulted to, he was making changes in employment, and my security, right, was like, even though I've worked on it, it's still just like, what's going to happen? Like, and I was wanting to fix it, wanting to I was getting angry, wanted to look a certain way, what he needed to do next. And, I had a plan and all of that.
Yeah.
And the moment I let myself slow down and was just like, wait a minute, let's refocus on me and let's let my husband have his experience, and I can stand beside him and support him. There was so much space. Our house went from feeling like this, to feeling soft, spacious. And my husband felt completely supported. And when he came out the other side, there was so much beauty in it. I don't even know how to say that, but it was like just a lot of gratitude for one another. And I'm grateful for the growth he experienced and that I experienced as well, being able to just be his wife and not the planner, the fixer, everything else that.
The meddler.
Everything else that could come in.
Figure this out for you, and I'm going to.
Let me tell you the way it's supposed to be and what you need to be doing. Yeah.
And what would you say allowed you to do that in yourself, to be able to, be there for support as your husband needed it, but to let him have his own experience and not be the one in there meddling and trying to plan everything? What would you say it was that allowed you to do that?
Honestly, just everything I've learned about relationships. I mean, what truly is a relationship is me being happy and taking care of myself and allowing me to be with someone from that place. I like the oxygen mask theory.
Yeah.
You hear all the time when you fly, like you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first. And it's, I can hear that sometimes when I'm starting to get riled up about a situation and want to go fix it. I'm like, wait a minute, where am I coming from? Do I have my oxygen mask on? Yeah. And, I just do the things to take care of myself that I've discovered for me that make me happy, and keep me connected to me. And from that place, I can just offer support. If someone asks advice, it comes from a different place, really comes from me and my heart versus the thought and the story of what something should look like, or if it were me, how I'd be doing it, all of that. I can just be with myself and be with somebody through whatever.
Yeah. And would you say that that's quite a different perspective to come from that place now where, you know, you need to take care of yourself? Like you said, put your own oxygen mask on first. Is that a pretty big shift from what you thought a relationship was supposed to be or a marriage was supposed to be?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with Disney,
Yeah.
you know, so I always, it's completely different. It's more responsible.
Yeah.
You know, it is, it's me being a whole person coming into the relationship versus, you know, the Jerry Maguire movie, "You complete me." You know, we hear those lines, or I heard those lines all the time, and the fantasy of what a relationship should look like. And, you know, I don't want anyone else to complete me. I want to be fully me. And when I can come from that place, then the relationship is real because I'm being real.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's so different. It's so different than looking for Mr. Right or looking for my husband to fulfill something in my life that I think is missing.
Right. That he can never do right anyways, right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And
only, yeah.
so how did that affect when you came from, I love how you said growing up with Disney, because I think we all did, in that sense of thinking the knight in shining armor and being rescued and being taken care of, or you take care of me, I'll take care of you, and we'll be happily ever after. How did that affect how you treated your husband or how you showed up with your husband in your marriage?
Oh, Karen.
I know.
Well, I wanted him to be perfect,
Mm.
you know, and I tried to be perfect. I tried to be the perfect wife, which ended up creating like an ice queen. I mean, so different than what, you know, you think what I thought I was doing and what was really happening is I was, you know, this persona that was really like, things need to be this way and it needs to look this way. And honey, you need to look that way. And, you know, just trying to make it all look like Disney and not even thinking about that. But, you know, the relationship had to be perfect. The marriage had to be perfect. I had to be the perfect housewife. And every time I failed at it crushed me, but I would get angry at him.
Yeah.
You know, my failure was because he wasn't perfect, or, you know, there was no ownership whatsoever for my own happiness, for, you know, just being responsible for myself and being a real woman and a real wife.
Yeah, I know that place very well. I often talk about and share about my experience of being an ice queen, and also that facade of wanting everything to be perfect, which I think is really common and we come up against again and again and again. And it's not until, like you, until we're able to face it and say, okay, I don't want my life, I don't want my marriage to be a sham, that we can even do anything about it. And how did your husband respond to that?
Oh my gosh.
You wanting everything to be perfect and coming from that kind of hard, cold ice queen place that we can come from. What was his response?
I mean, God love him is all I can say. He's a very good man that he stood by me. He would try, you know, he would try everything, and he was probably feeling pretty broken, you know, that he couldn't be perfect. What I do love was that he just really gave me the space to work on myself. And as I started to take more responsibility for my happiness and doing the things for myself, he felt it and could see it. And I will never forget, like, we were just taking a walk one day. We have a dog and we were out walking our dog. And he said, you know, our marriage feels so sweet. There's like this special sweetness in it. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I never thought I'd ever hear my husband say that, you know, but it does, you know, and I think it's so true that, you know, when one person, and I do believe that women in this, you know, marriage have a lot of power, I do believe that when one person really starts to work on themselves, it creates so much space for the other to be themselves that, our whole marriage changed, and he's no longer broken. I love, you interviewed someone the other week that said, he puffs up, my husband
Yeah.
does, he puffs up and he laughs more, and we laugh together more. And just such a different place from him having to deal with the ice queen that always made him wrong and challenged him to be something that, no one can be. So very different.
Yeah. And what challenge did you have with knowing that from this perspective, being with a good man, that as the woman in a relationship with a good man, when you have your walls up, you're the problem? Because that's really confronting for a lot of people coming into this work or hearing this new way. It's like, what? And so what was your challenge or struggle with that, and what helped you to overcome that?
Sure. Temper tantrum, like
Yeah.
childhood temper tantrum is what I felt internally. Like, that's not fair. I don't want to do this. He needs to change too. Like, all of that I felt.
Yeah.
But what was interesting for me is, I would do like some of the work that we were learning and doing. Like, if I did one thing, I'd almost like peer out, like, is there a little bit of a change? And as I started to see changes in my external world and feel differently internally, then it was like, okay, I'm the problem. Like, it didn't matter. But yeah, for sure, there was the temper tantrum in the beginning, and, wanting someone else to take responsibility. I didn't want to, and whether it was my husband, my dog, whatever, like, someone please take responsibility, because I don't want to. But, as soon as I started letting myself get, one step and then the next step, it just got so much easier.
Yeah. And so do you see now, I think a lot of times we hear, oh, I'm the problem, and we think that's disempowering or somehow derogatory to us. How do you understand yourself as the problem as being empowering? You talked a little bit about it a little earlier, but I think it's worth highlighting again.
Sure. So if I'm experiencing a problem in a relationship or in other ways as well, but mainly in relationships, then the only thing I can fix is myself. So I must be the problem. It's like, that's all there can be. There's nothing else. I can't point to something outside of myself as some sort of problem that's making me have an internal reaction or experience. It's mine. I'm feeling it. I'm struggling with it. I'm pushing against it. Me.
Yeah. And so how quickly, compared to where you used to be before taking this approach and looking at yourself as the problem, how long would you stay stuck in those issues or challenges you were coming up against in your marriage or in life?
So we've been together 12 years. So I would stay stuck long periods of time. I mean, there were things I was doing to him when we first came together that I just looked at in the past 2 years. So, add that up, 10 years. And then, the one thing I love about how it's helped in my marriage, it's also helped with my family, my siblings. I mean, it relates to all relationships that I hold intimate and dear to myself.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about staying stuck, it's from childhood, things have been cleared up for me. I've taken responsibility for things, from when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
That I just formulated a decision in a wall and related to someone in my life like that, and then clean that up and take responsibility for it. For something I created at 7, it's completely changed. So,
and how quickly, when you realize it's you and you're the problem and you take responsibility, how quick, and you just, with the snap of your fingers, how quickly can you resolve something that you're stuck in or a problem? Is it days, weeks, or, it depends on,
what I love is there's so much that I learned in the relationship class of different things that I could utilize. So it just really depends, like minutes, and how open I am to seeing it. Like sometimes in the moment, now I have a choice of I can either be with myself in a relationship, or I could pull in some old patterns and play with them a little while, but I have a choice just to be with myself. And I needed to go through that and course and look at myself to be able to have that choice, because before I was just stuck.
Yeah. And it almost sounds like, and I think somebody in the group commented today, like it sounds too good to be true, but it's not easy. It's not a magic pill looking at ourselves. What's your experience of that, of you and being willing to take responsibility? Is it, I know it gets easier as we learn it, but initially is
sheer
it
panic?
Yeah, sheer panic.
Sheer panic. I remember the first time looking at myself, I think I was working with David and I had my hands like this.
Yeah.
They said, "What are you doing?" I'm trying to hold myself together. Because I knew I just was about to look at myself in a way I never had. And it was like, oh my gosh, that was just, my sheer reaction. And I think I have a little mantra that I tell myself, because, even though I've been doing this work and, for a few years, sometimes I get this panic, oh God, here's the one thing that's going to rock my complete boat that I'm going to have to own. I'm not going to want to. And I have this little mantra that, there's no scary monsters there's no scary monsters in the closet. Like when I was a little kid, it's just open the closet and look, it's just you. There's nothing. So if something feels like a mountain, it's literally learning how to make it a molehill instead of what we do. So it was tough. And even sometimes, like I said, every morning I wake up and commit to myself and commit to my marriage. Yeah. And so it's not too good to be true. I'm walking through my life with tools that let me look at everything that feels challenging. And once I own it and work with it, it's no longer a hard challenge. It's a challenging for growth and a challenging to learn, but it's not hard.
Yeah. And it's not like this is the magic pill of now you never have any conflict or challenges in your marriage. What do you know about the nature of marriage now that the tools help you to keep going and keep recommitting to yourself?
Sure. Well, what I know about marriage is it's a relationship.
Yeah.
It is relating to one another. And I feel like now I know how to relate to myself and be with myself so I can relate to someone else. And we're constantly changing and growing.
Yeah.
As people, if we're not, I always say, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
We're constantly changing and growing. We're learning what we like and dislike, and those change as well as we get older and move through life. That I have a way to share my life with someone and also do all that for myself and allow them to do that for themselves too. So it feels like I'm walking beside someone versus, joined, or however they, traditionally say. Yeah.
Sure.
It's me and my life, and I'm just enjoying sharing it with somebody.
Yeah. And so there's still ups and downs and challenges, and it's not, the magic pill happily ever after, but you're happy even going through the challenges. And working through the ups and downs.
Yeah. Well, I actually get excited for the other side now, right?
Oh, why is that?
Because I know I'm going to learn something. And my husband usually does as well.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, here we are. And then move through it and get excited for the other side. Because when I come out the other side, I've grown.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, we're not skipping through a field of flowers. We definitely laugh more. We're definitely a little more soft with each other. We definitely face our challenges a lot easier. Yeah. But, we're here to live life, and life is full of challenges. So Yeah.
Thank you. And so what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in yourself and in your marriage or your life that you want to share that have been a result of you working on yourself and finding your happiness inside and your softness too?
Yeah. I feel so much more relaxed. I mean, honestly, I really do. It's, when I think about the ice queen and trying to be perfect, I feel like I dress differently. Like I'm even more me. Like if that even, it's like
Yeah.
my preferences are just starting to change and what I want to do with my time, my friendships. I have a smaller group of friends, but they're more meaningful. Where before I was like the socialite throwing the parties, and I still enjoy, entertaining, but it comes from a different place. I'm just I'm really learning how to love myself, and I'm loving what I'm discovering. And for me, just letting myself be me and not what I think I should be just really has softened me. And when I say softened, it's just I'm open. My heart feels more open. I laugh more. I go swimming 3 times a week, which I love, which is one of the things that keeps me, connected to myself and just doing things like that for me. Never would have done that. Never would have done that.
And so how did those changes show up with your husband and in your marriage?
Well, like I was saying, there's just more space for us to be ourselves in our marriage, and we do laugh more, and we actually love being together. So it's where before I'd make friends, going to go happy hour here or go to the gym here or do this with someone, and now it's like I just want to be with my husband, and where are we going to go and what are we going to do to enjoy each other's company and enjoy life together. So we're planning more trips. Yeah, it just feels, it feels, it's so funny that I say this, but I feel secure within myself. So everything I'm experiencing in my marriage feels secure.
Yeah. And so it's no longer looking to your husband or your marriage for the security. Now you've found that security within yourself.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I have one more question that I want to make sure we get to in this, because you being a licensed professional counselor, I want to hear from you, and I think it will help some of our members in our group too. What are some of the challenges or problems with traditional couples counseling that you wouldn't have been able to find the results and the changes you're seeing in your life and your marriage? You wouldn't have been able to find those in traditional couples counseling.
Well, I don't really feel, and I'll just say this for I don't know of any therapist that's going to look at a man and a woman sitting across from them and say to the woman, you really need to learn how to make yourself happy. I feel like that, and I could be wrong. There might be therapists out there that do that, but I feel like my knowledge and what I know from my own training and from couples therapy that I'm aware of, it's more of how can we compromise? How can we come together? How can we, it's more about this versus this and this.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. I feel like I don't know of many modalities where couples come together to do their own inner work. It's more like they're still looking out here.
Yeah.
Of that space between them. And it really starts within ourselves.
Yeah. And it's not that those tools can't be helpful, that what we can learn in couples therapy, it's just what we know is that it tends to be a Band-Aid and just kind of covers up the problems for a little bit, but then they come up again and again and again and again. So would you say that you've found through learning this way and through this course, have you learned more long-term solutions versus those short-term Band-Aids?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a lifelong process for me.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm done with the course.
Yeah.
But everything I learned from it and took away from it, it's lifelong.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I plan to continue to grow and learn in life.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's a basic fundamental tool for me
Yeah.
to be able to do that. So yeah,
Thank
long
you.
term. I'm thinking long term, life long term.
Yeah, right. And so, anything else, Vivian, that you want our viewers or listeners to know about your experience or the program, or just anything else that you want to share?
Sure. I can honestly say that I know my relationship with my husband would not have lasted. I mean, he's a good man and he's a strong man and he stood by me, but he was broken and he would have been completely broken and gotten to the place where he had walked away. And I would have been a bitter woman blaming him. And, you know, this work saved my life because it opened me up to my life and to myself. And in doing that, I get to be married to the person that I do love, and instead of the other trajectory. So, you know, as scary as it might seem or sound, or the too good to be true stuff, I mean, just it's work, and it's good work, and it's work I'm proud of myself for doing and humbled in doing it. And there's, to me, there's just no other way.
Thank you so much, Vivian, for being here and sharing so openly. It is so clear that you are walking the talk and your happiness is just beaming out of you, and so transparent. So thank you for being willing to share you and your experience with me and with those watching and listening. I know that this will help a lot of women who might be in the same position you were before getting down to it and really making those changes.
I hope so. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
You're welcome. So thank you everyone for watching and listening. And if Vivian's story speaks to you and you're thinking, wow, this could be me, and I want to learn how to get to where Vivian's gotten to and turn things around in my marriage long term, not just keep putting band-aids or hoping that things are going to get better without really doing the work. If you're ready to take that dive and do the work on yourself to find your happiness within and take down your walls and show up completely differently in your marriage and your life, then private message me and we will get a free 1-hour breakthrough call set up where we'll dive in and get specific on what the real challenges and problems are in your marriage, not the story, and help you to see a roadmap and a plan to how you can change and get to a new place. And I would love to talk to you. So like I said, you can private message me and we will get something set up. So again, Vivian, thank you. And thank you to all our viewers, and we'll see you soon. Bye.